This is NDTV and you are watching NDTV Prime.
Salarpuria Sattva, Trust, It's What We Build, presents the Realty Debate with Manisha Natarajan.
Guess what India's per capita income is? It's just 1 lakh rupees. And now look at India's real estate industry when it advertises a home priced at 40 lakh rupees as affordable. Such is the dichotomy of affordable housing in India. What we perceive as affordable and what most Indians can buy are simply miles apart. And that's perhaps the reason why the NDA government has made housing for all its big mission. But look at the data since June 2015 when this was announced. We've not even put our foot on the starting line for the whistle to blow and the race to begin. So how on earth are we actually going to get this piece right? Joining me today for the Affordable Housing Dialogue are Ravi Ramu, MD and CEO of VBHC Value Homes, Sriram Mahadevan, Head Affordable Housing, Mahindra Lifespace Developers Limited, Vikram Jain, Director FSG Inclusive Markets, Ashutosh Limai, National Director Research, JLL India, and Vajinath MG, Chief General Manager Real Estate and Housing Development, State Bank of India. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here with me. I'm just going to read us some numbers for actually our audience and viewers to know why we are not even at the start of the starting line. Mission to build 6 crore homes. That was announced with this mission for all or housing for all. 2 crore in urban areas and 4 crore in rural India, which translates to, look at that number, 85 lakh homes every year. Now we've got data from the site, ministry's site as of December 8, 2016. Total houses completed under 4 key government schemes in urban area. And look at the number. Less than 7,000. I can't even say 70. I can't even say 7 lakhs. I'm saying 7,000, 6,716 to be precise, as against a target of 85 lakh homes every year. So we know where we are. Houses yet to start but sanctioned, at least that number doesn't look that bad, is 5.58 lakhs. All right, Vikram. You've been doing this for the longest time. You've seen this government is very serious about housing for all. I must say, at least there is focus, there's concentration, there is very good intention to get this right. There have been interest subsidies, etc., etc. But tell me, if we start with those 4 ingredients which are required to get this right, land, cost of construction, financing and marketing, what do you think is the most important piece of these 4?
I think I would pick the top 3. I think land definitely is one of the key ingredients. Sriram, who is also on the panel, will agree and probably add a lot more to that. I think this is the core cost of that. And then again, it's not just the market price of the land. I think access to service land is what developers want. So if the government can build out infrastructure, it adds a lot more land parcels which get serviced and therefore the supply increases. So that's, in my mind, one of the key ones. Construction prices are stabilizing. I think a couple of years ago they were escalating. There was a lot of concern whether this will happen. I think to some extent it is stabilizing. As far as financing goes, I think these 2 schemes will play a great part in stimulating the demand, especially when we talk about housing, under the sub 15 lakh price point. I think these 2 schemes are fantastic. So those are, in my mind, the top 3 issues. I think marketing, the firms can manage. And again, from the perspective we are talking about, private sector build affordable homes like Sriram on the panel or VBHC is building. So those are the kind of companies we need who will make this housing for the common man.
All right. So the 2 schemes that you were referring to, I haven't yet actually read them out, but it's important that you raise them. In the last Mann Ki Baat, PM Modi announced 2 new interest subvention schemes. Let's take a look at them. One, of course, was both for new middle income categories under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana in urban areas. Loans up to rupees 9 lakh taken in 2017 will receive interest subvention of 4%, and loans of up to 12 lakh will receive an interest subvention of 3%. And this was really followed by banks announcing slashing interest rates on home loans, which have actually fallen, even if you look at other home loans above these levels, to their lowest level in 6 years. Okay, so let's come back to the land question. Sriram Mahadevan, land. Now that's the one which is critical. After demonetization, do you think the situation has changed? Because all that we read is that, hey, look, you've pulled out the cash economy from land, and suddenly at least land as an ingredient is likely to become more moderate and more realistic in prices.
Well, Manisha, to my mind, we haven't seen that effect actually flowing down as of now. Okay. But what we expect is that maybe in peri-urban areas where a lot of land parcels are actually available, this might hold true over a period of time. I don't see any immediate correction in the market prices so far as the land goes, even in peri-urban areas. But the larger point is, as Vikram mentioned, it's not a question of only the land price per se. It's a question of the land having the trunk infrastructure connected to it, the land having good connectivity to the central business district, which actually is one of the key impetus which is needed when it comes to the end users for whom you are trying to build the home. If they realize that, okay, they can move out of their current compromised housing solution and they can go to an area from where they can travel to the central business district and they don't dislodge their family much, then you will suddenly see a plethora of customers who are coming forward and taking the benefit of Prime Minister Awas Yojana, and a lot of homes getting constructed in the peri-urban areas. Okay. So to my mind, land cost, yes, it is very important, but connectivity to these places play an even more significant role.
All right. So let's come to the connectivity, solutions here. Ravi Ramu, your company's been, of course, the one company which has wanted to do this with heart and soul. And I remember every time we've had leaders from your company come on the show, they've said it is so difficult to do it, even with all the right intentions. Do you think with this new government, whether at center and of course with the push coming to the states as well, infrastructure story, are we likely to get this right now going forward? Or do you think that's so long term that this mission of housing for all by 2022 looks tough?
Well, I think, Manisha, the mission does look tough. 2022 housing for all, it's a very big stretch. But coming specifically to infrastructure, what we've got to look at, and this is where the government has to realize what it needs to do, is self-contained large townships. I think if we are still going to rely on an India of tomorrow, where we are going to commute miles and miles like in a London or New York or Tokyo, well, India is too big for that. What is going to happen is something like the electronic city and surrounding Hosur Road areas in Bangalore. The software companies went there, and then what followed were the homes. The roads, it took a lot of angst, but it got done. There's this elevated road and things like that. So people who live in our Anekal project, for example, which is just past Electronic City, they live, work and have their entertainment in that one area. I think that seems to be the panacea, rather than building big metros or internal railway lines. That is going to take a lot of humongous amount of money, effort, cutting red tapeism. In spite of what the government says, there is a lot of red tapeism still to get the approvals and the action going. So what we got to look at is self-contained large townships outside the CBD areas. Us Indians always seem to think of CBD as the center of activity. That needs to change.
But CBD themselves are changing, isn't it, Ashutosh? And it's happening in Delhi. I mean, who comes to Delhi to work? Everyone either goes to Noida or they go to Gurgaon. So I get Ravi's point, but within Gurgaon or within an electronic city as well, I'm sorry, but the infrastructure is actually worrying. And if you have to go to Anekal, it's still further down, isn't it? So infrastructure piece, I don't think we can deny. But if you were to look at the kind of models which will get affordable housing going, both with land and infrastructure, what would your recommendation be to this government? What should they get it right? What should they get right?
I think, Manisha, the examples that we have seen around us of business districts moving towards residential districts was rather a compromise, because the productivity was getting lost commuting long distances, and the corporates realized that it makes a lot more sense to get located near the residential districts. The townships, self-sustaining townships is a good solution, but it has to have a minimum infrastructure and connectivity with the rest of the city. I don't think we can deny that at all. So I think both have to work hand in hand, go parallelly. I think the incentives that the government gives to create affordable housing, I think it needs to introduce incentives to move activity areas, decongest the current activity areas, and I think that will help to fast track this process. So I think there are multiple initiatives which have to be implemented parallelly, and the effect will be felt only then when we have the multiple initiatives working hand in hand. I don't think we can rely or depend on one single approach here.
Let's move to cost of construction. Sriram mentioned, Ravi, that cost of construction has stabilized, or Vikram mentioned that. Would you agree, or there are technologies which can be brought in which are far more effective, can bring down costs, can also shrink your time of construction? Are those being used? As of now, are developers actually using the best technologies to achieve the affordable tag?
I don't think sufficiently enough, Manisha. We, for sure at VBHC, we've been using technology quite effectively. It saves time for sure, and saving time means money. So I think technology does have to come in. The other bugbear that we have in our industry is labor. You know, labor is so difficult for us to get. It is as bad as approvals and infrastructure. You know, there are times our construction comes to a standstill because the labor doesn't come across at the right time. So I think the solution has to be technology. But if I may add, when you're talking about construction cost, this is where the government can come in big time.
Okay,
you defined affordable homes as up to 25 lakhs is your definition, right? I will live by that. VBHC lives by that. So if they can say the service tax VAT is going to become GST for homes below 25 lakhs and up to that amount, have a lesser incidence to indirect taxes. One. Two, approval costs. Approval costs are very high as well. Local panchayat costs, because the places that we build are invariably connected with the local panchayat. So there are all sorts of levies and charges. If that can be made simpler in terms of procedure as well as cost, I think we have a big battle won for construction. People do not realize the size of tax in our construction.
Vikram, would you agree with it? I mean, one is still not able to understand how real estate will be treated when we move to a GST regime, and that remains, you know, a very debatable point. I have sat through lots of conferences where big guys like EY, etc., have presented, and believe me, it's gone arm above my head, because I really haven't understood how that treatment is going to happen. But this is a simple enough demand, and I think very doable, isn't it? At least for homes under 25 lakhs, just take away service tax and VAT and do something within the GST rates that the incidence is lower.
I think definitely the simplification that GST brings will be extremely valuable. I think there is the second point as to what is the percentage you want to charge, and you know, that's a philosophical debate whether it should be closer to zero or it should be something different. I don't necessarily want to venture into that, but I definitely feel if there is a lot of simplification, it will definitely help the developers. I think to your original question, the number one point, and you know, we have discussed this even earlier on the shows, has been time-bound approvals. I think the amount of time post-investment in a land parcel that all the developers have to spend just to get approvals increases the cost of just doing the project. If you know, if on a project every house is an affordable house, can that sort of a project get a preferential treatment and a time-bound approval, that would make a big difference over here.